They thought they were living in a quiet little town, until they opened the door to Ed Gein's farmhouse. What they found inside changed true crime forever. In today's video, we're diving deep into the chilling story of Ed Gein, the man who became known as the Butcher of Plainfield. His crimes weren't just murders, they were something darker, stranger, and almost unbelievable. This is the story that inspired horror icons like Psycho's Norman Bates, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Leatherface, and the Silence of the Lambs' Buffalo Bill. But the truth? It's far more disturbing than fiction. To understand how Ed Gein became the monster history remembers, we need to go back to his childhood. Edward Theodore Gein was born in 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. His family life was brutal. His father, George, was a violent alcoholic who couldn't keep a job. His mother, Augusta, was the opposite, fiercely religious, domineering, and obsessed with sin. She taught Ed and his brother Henry that women were evil, that sex was filthy, and that the world outside their home was poisoned with immorality. Augusta's grip on Ed was absolute. She kept him isolated, controlling every aspect of his life. And Ed, shy, awkward, and often bullied, clung to her with total devotion. To him, Augusta wasn't just his mother, she was his moral compass, his only friend, and his world. Life took a darker turn as the family started to fall apart. George, his father, died in 1940. Then came the real blow. In 1944, Ed's brother Henry died under suspicious circumstances during a marsh fire. Some speculated Ed might have had something to do with it, but no charges were ever filed. That left Ed alone with Augusta. But just a year later, his anchor in life was gone. Augusta died in 1945. For Ed, it was devastating. He was left completely isolated in that Plainfield farmhouse. And here's the thing, instead of moving forward, Ed became frozen in that moment. He boarded up most of the house, leaving Augusta's rooms untouched like a shrine, while he lived in just two small, filthy rooms. After Augusta's death, Ed became obsessed with the macabre. He read pulp magazines about Nazis, cannibals, and bizarre medical experiments. More importantly, he started making nightly trips to local cemeteries. He would dig up recently buried women who reminded him of his mother, bring their bodies back home, and use their skin and bones in grotesque craft projects. What kind of projects? This is where it gets disturbing. Ed made lampshades out of human skin. He stitched together belts from nipples. He created masks using entire faces. His farmhouse slowly transformed into something straight out of a nightmare, a place where furniture, clothes, and even bowls were made from human remains. For years, Ed's grave robbing went unnoticed. But eventually, it wasn't enough. In 1954, he murdered tavern owner Mary Hogan. Locals joked about her disappearance, saying things like, "Maybe Ed took her." No one thought it was true. Then, in November 1957, Ed killed Bernice Wardens, a local hardware store owner. Her son, a deputy sheriff, returned to the store and found blood on the floor. Suspicion quickly fell on Ed, since he'd been seen there that morning. Police went to his farmhouse, and what they found inside shocked them and the entire world. Inside Ed's farmhouse, police found Bernice's body hanging upside down in the shed, gutted like a deer. But that was only the beginning. They discovered boxes filled with skulls, chairs upholstered with human skin, masks made of faces, and a collection of body parts that defies belief. The house wasn't just messy or dirty, it was a literal house of horrors. Investigators described the stench as overwhelming, the kind of smell you can't forget. What they uncovered was so grotesque that many officers had to step outside to keep from vomiting. The biggest question was, how could someone like Ed Gein exist in a quiet town like Plainfield? He wasn't a stereotypical monster. Neighbors described him as polite, shy, even helpful. Kids trusted him. People invited him into their homes. And yet, at night, he was turning his farmhouse into a nightmare museum. Psychologists and criminologists later studied Ed to understand what drove him. They found he had severe mental illness, including schizophrenia and psychosis, mixed with deep trauma from his mother's control. His crimes weren't just about violence, they were about trying to bring his mother back, to literally wear her skin, to feel close to her again. This is why so many horror movies were inspired by him. Norman Bates was modeled on Ed's twisted devotion to his mother. In 1957, Ed was arrested and charged with murder, but he was found mentally incompetent to stand trial. He was sent to a mental hospital where he spent the rest of his life. Decades later, in 1968, he was retried, found guilty but still insane, and remained locked away until his death in 1984. On March 20th, 1958, just before his property was set to be auctioned off, Ed Gein's farmhouse was destroyed in a mysterious fire. The blaze was reported to have started near a trash pile, but while arson was suspected, the exact cause was never officially determined. Ed Gein's crimes weren't about body counts. In fact, he killed fewer people than many other serial killers. But what made him unforgettable was the sheer horror of what he did with the bodies. His story forces us to ask, how well do we really know the people living next door? If you found this story chilling, don't stop here. Watch our next video for another case that's just as disturbing.